And welcome back to Coffee and Colorful Conversation. Love this mug. Brings back great memories from our trip to Greece when we used to be able to travel. I wish that I was going on an adventure now. I'm dying to go back to Italy, but not quite ready yet with all that's going on in this crazy world we live in. So, good morning. Welcome back. Hope all is well in your area, wherever you live. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I will be checking in with the comments throughout this coffee chat. I wanted to share something recently that I did that really was a great experience for both me and the other people that I was with. So, you all know that I've owned a hair salon for 32 years, but it is in Pennsylvania and I am in Florida. So, my daughter now is the big cheese at the salon, and always there, hands on, and is not a hairdresser. So she hired two new stylists right out of beauty school that graduated in June. So they're coming to her very fresh out of school, not confident. They need to learn about consultations, they need to learn about client care, they need to learn about some emotional intelligence, how to do a proper consultation, which is huge in both styling and especially coloring, and especially color correction. So we had chatted on the phone, and she said, I have to get these girls trained, and I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. And she knows that I'm pretty much a control freak, as well as a passionate hair color educator. And I would always hesitate to send my staff to outside education, because the way that I teach is a little bit different from traditional manufacturer classes and most other color educators. So I was concerned about them having formulation confusion if they got advice from all different people. So we've done a lot of coaching virtually, which is what I do now full time. So they have the gift of access to every one of my classes, my library, and my membership. They get all of it because they work for our company. So, you can offer someone a lot of virtual information, but you can't monitor whether they're taking it in or not. So I told my daughter, send them to me. Who doesn't want a free trip to Florida, even though it's hot and it's already summer where they are? It's always fun when you're in your 20s to be sent on a work trip where you don't have to pay anything. So she sent them to me, and I was able to spend 2 days at the salon suite where I get my hair done. She wasn't working those 2 days, so I rented her suite, and it was just me and these two girls. So it was a great experience for them because it was basically a one-on-one experience. There was only two of them. So we had 2 days, and the first day I had the one girl do a hands-on, and the second day I had the other girl do a hands-on. So, it's interesting to see the difference in what they bring as far as their individual personalities. One was more outgoing and more confident and didn't have as good of skills as the other. The other was very timid, but was more spot on when it came to actually doing the work. So, at the end of it, I said to my daughter, I wish I could take the best of both of them and create this super stylist that has it all going on. So what does that look like for you? Are you more confident and less skilled, or super skilled and don't have that way about you that you can relate to the client and they're not coming back because they're not connecting to you? So the experience was just as much learning for me as it was for them, because as a teacher, I forget how much I did not know straight out of school. So I forgot from the very beginning that they only finished in June. I had thought they were like maybe a year in and were just assisting to try to get some more confidence in their skill, but they're super fresh out of school. Like June, school ended. And the part that I also forgot was they were in school during COVID. So most of what they were doing was, not in person. And they were not only were they not working on human clients the way that we got to in beauty school, but I don't even think they were doing doll heads. I don't think they were doing virtual hands-on. I think it was just, They were watching videos of, I remember one person telling me in beauty school they were watching movies, and that killed me to hear that, because there's such a short time. And I'm talking movies like A Star is Born, not anything to do with hair, just the teacher put a movie on for them. So there's such a limited time that those instructors have with those students, and there's so much information that having a class with me can feel like putting your mouth on a fire hydrant to take a drink of water instead of a water fountain. I want it to pour 35 years of experience into their brain in 2 days. So I was hoarse within the first day, within probably the first 3 hours, because they were just looking at me like, I don't even know what you're saying. I was trying to talk about the color wheel and theory and the foundations of formulation and the math equation that I share in my book. And I was just like shoving all these nuggets down their throat. And by the end of day one, I realized they didn't retain any of it. It was like white noise. It was like, want, but Charlie Brown teacher. They just were not, it was too much. It was way too much. So it was a learning experience for me because, for me, I think the foundations are almost more important than the hands-on, but I know they flew here to get the hands-on. So once I saw that blank stare after 3 hours of me yapping about foundations, I thought, you know what, let's pick up the foundations virtually. I can talk to them anytime about foundations, and I can see and ask them to repeat back, and I can quiz them. This is the time to go all in on hands-on. So when I left them, last time I was home in PA visiting family, I did a hands-on. They both had a mannequin, and we did a basic foil. And they had no confidence whatsoever. The foils were sliding all over the place. Their sections weren't clean. Their actual weaves were too deep, more like a balayage check mark instead of being thin so you could get full saturation. So it was a shit show. It was a real shit show. And I expected that. They were right out of school. So I said, okay, let's just keep going. I want you to keep going through the motions and getting your groove with what your routine is. Are you going to put your comb down in between? Or are you going to hold it in your hand? Are you going to fold the foil over your comb? Or are you going to go straight in with the foil the way that I teach? So we did all that. And when I left them months ago, it was literally at least 3 months ago, I said, I need you to promise me that anytime you have downtime, which we've had a lot of it, right? During COVID, there's been so much downtime. It's ridiculous. When you have downtime, promise me that you will pull out those doll heads and just use a heavy conditioner. Go to Old School Cholesterol. You can get that giant jar of cholesterol, that stinky, smelly conditioner from our beauty school days. Put it in a bowl, set up your mannequin, and set your timer. Today, it took you 3.5 hours to do a basic foil and not well. And that's okay. That's expected at the stage that you're in. But you can't stay there forever. I want you to grow, and I want you to get confident, to do actual clients. And you don't want your clients to be your guinea pigs. That's what doll heads are for. So I said, you were 3.5 hours. Next time, set up the doll head, set your timer, and aim for 3 hours and 15 minutes. Do that. And then the next time, do 3 hours. The next time, cut off 15 minutes, because you should be able to do a basic foil, not these platinum cards, not all these Pinterest-worthy pictures, which you'll see is what they ended up doing. It was like, talk about throwing them right into the fire. But that's the way that you learn, right? Just being part of something really transformative. So they did not practice. They did not do a single doll head. They didn't time themselves. They never pulled the doll head out. They didn't do friends. They didn't do family. They didn't do any of it. So when they came here, they were exactly where I left them months ago. So the lesson here for you is they have someone with 35 years experience coaching them, prodding them, pushing them to be better versions of themselves, and they're choosing not to do it. And most people in the assistant role, with what I see on different social media groups, is, my boss promised me all this education and all I do is fold towels and sweep hair and I want to do clients. But it's as much on you as it is on that salon. Because for me, if I was still back there working in the salon, I wouldn't be real quick to move those girls up because they're not doing the work that they need to do. We're offering them all the education, the fire hose version of the education. They're getting more than they need. And I think they're getting a little overwhelmed by it. We have, amazing haircutting stylists who charge, $85, $88 for a haircut. And that's all they do all day is cut hair. And they're six-figure stylists. So they get to watch them all day. So they're getting a haircutting class 8 times a day. Every time they have a client in their chair, they do razor cutting, they do dry cutting, they do curly cutting. So they're cutting experts. So they're getting those classes and they don't even realize it. If you make the choice to go down the basement when you have a live class on the salon floor, shame on you. Why are you hiding in the basement on your phone on Instagram, looking at what other successful people are sharing with you? You want to see what's going on Instagram from a stranger when you have a star stylist right in your own building. And it's like anything else. Sometimes you don't appreciate something that's right in front of your eyes. So during the class, when I would ask them to formulate for different glazes, I'm going to share with you what we did. So day one model, the girl that had the more confidence and less skill, I had do this model. So this is my friend, Colleen. She is very gray, you see, on the one side of her head and not so much on the other. And it's been driving her crazy. And of course, when her and I have lunch, I'm like kind of staring at it's almost like a Cruella situation. She's gray on one side, mousy brown on the other. So she said, I really love all these pictures that I see of the steely grays and all of that. How do I do that? And she had gone to another hairdresser who just put highlights in her hair. And then all she ended up with is, on that left-hand side, she's got faded highlights, some, murky, boring brown, and then some silver that's not a pretty silver. It's just like a blah, dull silver. So this was our first model, Colleen. So when we brought her in and I had them doing her consultation, throughout the consultation, they would look at me. They would talk to her and then look at me, talk to her and then look at me. And I said, I'm not here. I'm invisible. I don't know. Well, I'm going to show my age again. I was going to talk about a cartoon, but you're not going to know who that is. So I'm invisible. I'm not here. And she's your client. So you need to get to the bottom of what she wants. So I had done swatches. 35 years in, I will still do a swatch because this whole gray thing is new. We didn't do this. 35 years ago, people begged you to cover their gray. Now they're paying $1,000 to be gray. So I knew that Kenra had a lot of gunmetal type colors just from, seeing Guy Tang and different people doing a lot of them. So I actually took gray hair swatches and swatched them out ahead of time. These are both the exact same color, 7SM in permanent, 7SM in demi. I am a demi girl. If you're one of the students in my membership, I love me a demi, especially when I'm adding color in and I'm not looking for lift. So my first response was definitely demi. But then I was like, she's white gray, and she's got that compact cuticle. She may need that alkalinity to get that color to stay in her hair. But I also know that permanent color wants to lift, and there's nothing to lift in her gray. So I was like, you know what? Let me just swatch it out. So lo and behold, my first instinct was what I went with, because this was a deeper, more true natural gray. She wanted it to be very natural looking. The permanent was like a sheery kind of translucent, almost had more blue tone to it because it was trying to lift that gray. So I went with the demi. And the girls highlighted her where her hair was brown. We did lots and lots of highlights. We concentrated on the underneath. I consider underneath here and here to all be part of the money piece. I don't stop my money piece at the ears because this hair is going to spill forward and you want that pop at the bottom. So we went really heavy underneath in the money piece, and this money piece on her was already a natural gray money piece, so we didn't have to do that. But in the back, after we did that, on the diagonal, pretty close together highlight, I explained to them about the dead zone, the area underneath your crown of your head and above the occipital is kind of a dead zone when someone has one length hair. You'll notice Colleen's hair is all one length. So that dead zone right in here, and I don't know if you can see my mouse, the dead zone right where like the stem of her glasses is, never gets seen. So I didn't want these new girls that I know were going to be super slow. I knew it was going to take them a long time to spend a whole lot of time in that dead zone when Colleen's not going to see it. I'm not going to see it. The person at the supermarket behind Colleen's not going to see it. So it's important when you're slow and you're new to know your weaknesses. I knew they were slow, so we lowered the volume of the developer. We also chose the Redken Up to 7 lightener because it's called Up to 7 for a reason. The up to 7, however it chemically happens, I am not a chemist. You can ask another chemist the why for that, but it's a very gentle lightener and it stops working after a certain time. So if this hair in the money piece was done and they're putzing their way through these little baby highlights that are taking forever, I was never worried that this hair was going to snap off and be mush. It was still yellow after an hour and a half. And because we went in super low volume. So you want to have your product working for you, not against you. I didn't want them stressing over taking her to the sink and holding up the other foils. That's advanced stuff. When you're brand new out of school, that can be super overwhelming, trying to rinse piece by piece and doing all that. And then some people will say, well, I just grab a water bottle and I squirt my foils and I grab a towel and I wipe it off. Well, that does not stop the action of the lightning. And if that hair is sitting on her brown mousy hair and we're going to be another 2 hours up here, that lightener is going to be sitting there still active and it can leave an imprint on that other hair. So I didn't want to overwhelm them with the why. I just kept telling them how to go about doing what they were doing. I hope that it sunk in and they understand the why now. But something I was more concerned about and that I wanted to share with all of you was because they're down in the basement looking at other people on Instagram and not paying attention to me or the people in front of them in the salon, they're hearing recipes. And a lot of you are hearing recipes. Oh, 9NA, 9T, 9V, 9P, all together, dump it in a bowl, put it on, it's beautiful. And they don't tell you what was on the hair prior to that application and why it actually worked when the formula doesn't seem to make sense. So the other girl that's more shy, every time I asked her to formulate a glaze, she would say NA, 9NA, 9NA, 9NA. And I said, talk to me about this 9NA. Where's this coming from? Are the girls in the salon, in our salon, using NA a lot? Like, are you seeing that on the counter a lot? Tell me what's going on. Are you seeing this on somebody's Instagram? And she blushed and she said, yeah, I am. And I said, you need to understand, and we're talking about Redken Shades EQ. You need to understand what NA is in Shades EQ. It has 3 parts blue in it. Blue in general in the color wheel is always the dominant tone. It will take over any party the blue is invited to. It's going to take over, whether it's 1 part blue, 2 parts blue, or in this case, 3 parts blue. So if you put 3 parts blue at a level 9, remember, level 9 does not have orange. And orange is what you're canceling when you use blue. So level 9 is here. It's a very pale, not even really any yellow, but there is yellow in there. So you have that yellow and 3 parts blue. Yellow plus blue equals green. And then people say, oh my gosh, why is this color turning green? This is shit. I need to change lines. I'm like, no, you used a blue at a level 9 when you had no orange. So you have to think about the why. So I have a Redken Shades EQ chart in my phone in my favorites, and I use it all the time. I use it on my coaching calls with my members. I use it on these coffee chats when I'm talking about shades. I can't remember every single level and number. I'm not in the salon every day anymore, and I'm getting older and my memory's shot. So I love having that in my phone, and I airdropped it to each one of them, and I said, this is going to be your best friend. Because when you're pulling a color out of your ass, just randomly saying, this is what I'm using, and you're not thinking it through, I want you to pull the color out of your ass, but then I want you to look, pinch in and look at the top of that chart and see what you just did before you do it, before you put it on the head. And they were like, oh, okay, because they could see what the base is in the color, what the background is in the color, and they actually thought it through. So I'm hoping that part of the class stuck with them the most. But they did a great job. But this before and after was 4.5 hours. And Colleen was like, oh my gosh, I knew they were new, but I didn't know they were that new. And I love my hair. She just texted me yesterday. And I told her she was going to be featured on today's coffee chat. But she texted me yesterday and said, I'm getting so many compliments on my hair. You were so great with those girls. It was great. I really didn't expect it to be that long, but I love it. And I'm like, I know, it's when you're a model, you think it's glamorous. Oh, I'm a model. I'm going to get my hair done free and get my picture taken. But it's a lot of sitting and a lot of hearing what people are saying about your color right in front of you. Because, we would never talk like that in front of clients, but we have to when we're doing that type of work and it's a teaching experience, we have to talk about it in front of the client. So I'll preface it to the client and say, we're going to talk about some scary things in front of you, but just trust that I've got you. I'm not going to let you leave here with anything bad happening to your color. They just need to hear what you as a client never hear. And they love it. They feel like they're in on this super secret society when they get into that. So that was awesome. So she was thrilled. Think about it. Jack Martin is like the king of transformations and he takes 7 hours. So for them to be 4.5 hours, I think it was a pretty good result, for 4.5 hours. She wanted the more silver money piece in there. We gave her more dark silver where she didn't have any, and we gave her more light silver where she had the mousy brown. So she loved it. Now this one was day 2. And she's your typical college student. You can see her ends faded into that weird urine yellow that we all end up having our clients look like from minerals in the water. She's probably not using great products. She's young. She has no money at college. She goes to all different people to get her color done. So everybody's doing something different. She is in my membership library from another color disaster. She calls me Hair Jesus because every time she gets into trouble, I step in and save her. But I'm like, stop making me save you and just wait and come see me on your breaks. And we'll do, what you see on the right, that more lived in, low maintenance that should be for a young girl. They shouldn't have to have all that maintenance of a roots to ends. She attempted, oops, wrong one. Someone attempted to lighten her whole head. And I never do a global lightening on a young girl because they just can't keep up. A global lightening on someone my age is a headache, that has gray and some darker hair. I don't like doing my roots as much as I have to. So I don't want a young girl to ever have to go on that journey. So that was 6.5 hours for her color. It was a team effort. The one girl started it and she was pretty much out of gas by the time, let me show you the one picture of her doing it. So this is Caitlin, and we started Hannah's hair in the underneath money piece and the top money piece. And for me, I would have been able to finish the whole head doing it that way, but I should have known better that they were super slow. So I was like, okay, once you get that back and front money piece done, we're going to stop because we're not going to be able to just rinse that area. And I don't want to stress you guys out and it's taking forever. But notice that she has a board in her hand. That is the sparkly color board from my friend Christina, who's part of Revival this year. She's amazing. She specializes in blondes and redheads, and she specializes in hair painting for redheads. So she's a really good educator. I hope you are all planning to join us for Revival. We have some amazing gifts this year that are above and beyond last year. So Caitlin was struggling to get the foil right up to the root, and she kept doing something weird with her hand where she was like pulling on the foil and it was sliding down. And I was like, I wasn't taught with a board and I don't teach with a board, but like I said earlier, have your tools work for you. Don't struggle unnecessarily. And it's a nice skinny long one for those, because Hannah has really long hair. So I pulled the board out, and she was a fold over the comb girl. So I said, just fold the foil over the lip of the board and do the same thing, but just push that in. And then you have that firm substance underneath so that you can really saturate that hair. And she started motoring through the head once she had that board in her hand. So these are just all different ways of, if you struggle at all with highlights, I promise you, if you spent one day with me or a couple hours virtually with me, I can watch you foil and point out exactly what you're doing that's making it lag. It's making you take too many steps. Some people, I've seen when I train girls in my salon, they have to stop moving their hands every time they talk. So if they have a chatty client and the client asks them a question, they stop moving their hands and they do this and talk to the client in her face, and they're not doing her hair while they're talking to her. So I tell my new hires, if you can't talk and move your hands, you have to say to the client, let's chit chat and catch up a little bit while I'm mixing, because once I start doing your color, I am in the zone. I really can't talk and work at the same time. So here's an iPad, go on and watch a movie, do whatever you want to do, but I'm going to be quiet while I'm doing your hair. There's nothing wrong with that. That becomes your brand. And people that don't like I talk obviously too much. So a lot of clients would come to me for the first visit. They loved their color, but they didn't like how much I talked. So they would make an appointment for the next visit with the girl that works next to me, who's super quiet. She's an excellent colorist. She's great at what she does, but she doesn't like to shoot the shit. For me, being behind the chair was my social life and my income. It was my work, my passion, and my social life. I loved my clients. So you could always tell, from the first time a client came to the salon, who was going to be an Elaine client, who was going to be an Alicia client, who was going to be a Laura client. You could just tell by the personalities who was going to gel. One client said to me, she was a quiet Alicia client, and Alicia was on vacation, and I had to do her hair, and I was like, blah, 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 and it was very visible by the body language. She was like, please shut up. And I was like, I'm sorry. I know Alicia's nice and quiet, and you can sit and get your work done, but I want to know about you. I hear you guys talking, and I want to get to know you. And I said, am I bothering you talking a lot? And she was like, no, I'm kind of used to it. You're kind of like, when you're on a plane and somebody's talking a lot and you just tend to block them out like white noise. That's what I do with you. And I was like, oh, awesome. Did you want your hair green today, madam? It was very hurtful, but she was honest. She doesn't like the chit chat and the banter. So, and same here, if people show up on this coffee chat and I'm talking a mile a minute and talking a lot, that they're probably not my person. And they might go and watch someone else who has a completely different style of teaching. And that's okay. That's why there's 51 flavors at Baskin Robbins. That's why there's chocolate and vanilla. And that's why, people have different tastes in music, country, pop, whatever. That's what makes the world go round. So if you relate to me at all, thank you for being on these coffee chats. I love all of you, and I love sharing my passion for hair color. So any questions about either of those makeovers, I'm happy to share if anybody has any questions. I just wanted to share with you, it's a wow for me that someone who finished school that has not touched a human head during COVID and was in school could do these transformations. I am beyond proud of these girls, and I know that they're proud of themselves. They shared it on their social media, and they were excited to be able to step back and look, because when you're in it, when you're in a class, I've done it. I've been in classes with my friend Ian where he's doing something and it's new to me. And then he hands me the comb and I'm like, he's going to watch me do this. This is so uncomfortable. I don't know how to do it. And I'm awkward. And that's after 35 years. So the awkward feeling of the new never goes away, but it's also like the butterfly feeling of a first kiss. You're going to want to listen to this week's podcast episode interview. It's not going to be out until September, but it's a girl named Danielle that I interviewed. Danielle from New Jersey. Her last name was, I don't have it here. It was a unique Italian name. She's adorable. And we were chatting, and I was talking about how education, when you leave a good class, it's like if you leave a Broadway show and your body's just vibrating, you're so excited. You're just you were laughing, you were crying. It was every emotion brought up during this Broadway show. And you're just you can't even sleep. You're so excited. That's how I feel when I learn a new technique in hair. And I have to preface it with hair color. If I watch a cutting class, I'm totally distracted. My ADD is on fire. I'm all over the place. I'm not interested. But as soon as it's color, I'm all in. And to learn something new after 35 years for me is that butterfly roller coaster belly of a first kiss. And I talk about, my husband and I and that roller coaster feeling. And it's pretty funny. I share a funny story about the shit that we talk about in our crazy marriage of almost 30 years. So it's important to push past that discomfort. I see my good friend Donna Roggio is on here. She got me out of my comfort zone with her Fierce Financials course. She was trying to push me, she was pushing me to finish her course because she knows I avoid numbers. I avoid math. I avoid finances. I avoid banking. I avoid forms and structure and all of those things. I'm like a little rebel against, routine and just flow charts and spreadsheets and all that stuff gives me hives. So she pushed me to finish her financial program, and she teaches you, how to get to those educational events and have free flights from your credit card. Like those are the things that nobody teaches you in cosmetology school. They hand you a license, you get your shitty shears from your kit and you get pushed out into the world and say, fly, be free, go behind a chair and cut hair. And it's not enough. You need mentorship, you need education, you need connection, you need to be around other people that are further ahead than you in their journey to share things with you. And not a lot of people are free with that kind of stuff. It's like they'll teach you a little bit and then like keep something to the chest. Like if I were to go through with you every single step, which I'm not going to go through every step because that's for my members. So I'm transparent about that with you. I'm like, I wanted to share that amazing makeover, but it's not fair to my paid members for me to sit here and say step 1, step 2, step 3. They're in a paid membership and they're my people. That's my tribe. So they got on Monday night a complete step by step, every product, the timing, the how, the why, the what. That's what a mentorship is. My coffee chat here is to share with you, tips and things that are outside the membership that I can inspire you with and hope that you join my membership. But in a lot of classes, and I talked about this in that podcast as well, some classes I've gone to are $1,200. And the most important step they took in the back behind the curtain and did it when we weren't watching. And I was pissed. I'm like, I paid $1,200 for this class. I had to fly to California. I had to get a hotel, meals, Ubers, you name it. It was thousands upon thousands of dollars. And I'm still missing a key step in the technique. I figured it out and created my own technique from it. So it was never a waste of time. And I don't say that I wouldn't go again, but I didn't like that. Like if you're paying $1,200, you should have every single step of the way and have full transparency. I can't tell you now that I'm on the other side and I'm friendly with a lot of really famous educators, the stories that they share are like, oh my gosh, we totally screwed up this model. And, we were in the back using, this on her hair and like things they would never share with the crowd. And that's a shame because we walk away thinking that the steps that they took really got them to where they got, when in fact, they screwed up. If I was teaching a class and I screwed up, I would be like, oh my gosh, look at what just happened. Don't ever do this again kind of thing, because there's no ego. I don't have that ego of, oh my gosh, now you're going to think less of me because I screwed up. No, you're going to relate to me because you see that I'm 35 years in and I still screw up. That's what a good educator does. They share the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows. My Instagram is not a highlight reel. It's not like, look at me, look at my perfect pose, filtered pictures. And I don't have a lot of followers for that reason. And that's okay. I was just having this conversation yesterday with a fellow educator and her Instagram is exploding. And I'm like, good for you. I think it's great that we choose a channel. I'm all in on Facebook. She's all in on Instagram. Other people are all in on, YouTube, TikTok, all of those things. But I'm not going to be everything to everyone. And if I can help you push forward and make more money and get that butterfly roller coaster feeling once in a while, then I know that I've done my job and that makes me really happy. So for me, like I said, it's trying to hold back and not give too much and overwhelm. That is more the crux for me is over delivering and overwhelming. My library and my membership is over 185 lessons. So when we do a coaching call and I say, okay, in your library, there's a lesson on pre-glazing and people are like, whoa, where is it? Because it's overwhelming. There's a lot of information in there, but that's why I ask that people commit to a year. A year sounds like a long time until you have 185 videos to get through. And I want you to do the work of what's in the video. I don't want you to just watch a video and then not utilize it, not put it into use. Erin said, I was in a class recently. The educator had bleed spots and was totally transparent. And yeah, you appreciate it, right? Because if they don't have any mistakes, you're like, oh my gosh, how far do I have to go to be that good that they didn't have any issues whatsoever? So yeah, I think it's important to do that. I'm just looking to see if there's questions on. Oh, Aaron said, I was always curious why there is blue in a level 9. I agree. The 9B I get because if you use 9B correctly with a lot of clear, we did need a B. And I think Redken probably was concerned about doing the in-between levels of B for that reason. But the NA to me, there's very few times I can think of that you need that. And I see that in a lot of recipes floating around online. And I think it accidentally works because something else in the formula calmed down the amount of blue. That's the only thing I can think of. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that way. So thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me share my proud mom moment of these new girls and their transformations. And, you know, if you're ever looking, if you just want someone to get some eyes on your work, I do, you know, virtual one-on-ones. You can book one, you can have two, you can have none, you can have a half hour, you can have an hour, whatever you need to watch you. Like I see Lisa's on here. Lisa, one of our members, is going to do a one-on-one with me, one for theory and one for highlighting because she's having some struggles and I can watch her. I mean, look how close you can see my hands right here. So if I have a doll head and I'm showing you and then I can see you and I see what you're doing. One of my members, Elaine, was doing one little thing that was making her foils bleed. And I was able to fix that in one one-on-one class. So I'm here for all of you. Reach out to me if you need anything. And I will see you next Wednesday on Coffee and Colorful Conversation. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out the podcast. Talk to you soon.